experience it as a quiet force that can illuminate the inner world and gently transform the way we see life, ourselves, and everything around us. Today, I also want to introduce you to the Chinese writer, Mr. Xuemo, who is on background in the poster. His works are deeply rooted in both reality and spiritual insight, moving from stories of human struggle in harsh environments to profound explorations of consciousness, compassion, and the awakening of the heart. This channel is created as a space of reflection and connection, where through literature we slow down, listen more deeply, and rediscover that within every story there is a light, and within each of us there is the same light waiting to be seen. So, first I will introduce the first book, Xuemo, was become well known to the desert in China. Which book made him famous in China? Desert Rights. And with the Desert Hunters and the White Hike Pass, they are called the Desert Trilogy. So the Desert Rights is about a journey of struggle, survival, and perseverance for farmers in rural China, set in China's Persian crater. Desert Rights portrays the daily struggles of Lao Shun family, offering an authentic glimpse into rural life in the 1980s and 1990s. Through vivid desert landscapes and a gripping emotional narrative, it explores themes of survival, humanity, love, and fate. And this edition is translated by Howard Goldblatt and Silver Chunling, which they are the Nobel Prize winner, the work of the translator of the works of the Nobel Prize winner. And what makes this book so powerful is not only the story itself, but the way they reveal the dignity and the resilience of ordinary people living under extreme conditions. Through the vast and often unforgiving desert setting, we begin to see how environment, fate, and human will are constantly in dialogue with one another. And beyond the hardship, there is something deeply moving, a quiet strength, a persistence of life, and a humanity that continues to shine even in the most difficult moments. And next, the second book of the Desert Trilogy is White Hike Pass. White Hike Pass. The essential read on feminine power. Follow the choices and fates of three women, inspiring you to transcend harsh realities and embrace your unique truth, goodness, and beauty. And this English version was also translated by Howard Goldblatt and Silver Chunling, renowned translators for Nobel Prize in Literature winners. And this is also my favorite during the Desert Trilogy. And also, what makes this story especially compelling is the way it presents feminine power not as something loud or forceful, but as a quiet strength that endures, transforms, and remains true under pressure. Through the lives of these women, we begin to see that true strength is not about escaping reality, but about meeting it with clarity, dignity, and an unwavering sense of inner truth. And in that process, their journeys become more than personal stories. They become reflections of how each of us can rediscover our own courage, softness, and authenticity. So this is the second book of the White Tech Path. And the third one is the Desert Hunters. Let me see where is the book. Desert Hunters. Okay, Desert Hunters. If one day the earth is destroyed, this book will tell you how it happened. In the depth of the desert and the grassland, herders and hunters fight to the death for water. This book focuses on the human environment and fate, examining and questioning the human soul. The greatest threat is not wolves, nor water, but an ignorant heart. When the heart transforms, so does fate. When the heart is clear, the path unfolds. So, as a hunters, it is also it is also translated by Howard Goldblatt and Sophie Chunling. So, all the three works known as Desert Trilogy are translated by Howard Goldblatt and Sophie Chunling. And what this story ultimately reveals is that the true battlefield is never only in the external world, but within the human heart, where fear, desire, and ignorance quietly shape every decision and every outcome. In such extreme environments, survival becomes more than a physical struggle. It becomes a task of awareness, where the line between destruction and transformation depends on whether one remains trapped in instinct or begins to see with clarity and understanding. And perhaps this is where the deeper meaning lies, that fate is not something fixed or imposed from outside, but something that shifts as the heart awakens. And when the inner world changes, even the harshest landscape can begin to open into a different path. And next, I want to briefly introduce the five phrases of the writing journey of Mr. Xuemo. Because what we just mentioned is uh, um, the novels, and the novels, the older Desert Trilogy, the Desert Trilogy are about the Western life in China. So Xuemo's writing journey is not only the evolution of his work, but also a deepening exploration of life, humanity, and inner awakening. These stages are not just literary phases, but a gradual unfolding from observing the outer world to questioning it, and eventually turning inward toward the nature of the mind and the essence of existence. And by understanding this journey, we begin to see that his writing is not static but alive, growing, transforming, and guiding us step by step from reality into deeper awareness and offers inner strength. So the five phrases. The first stage of Xuemo's writing can be understood as in a deep engagement with reality, where he observes the world with honesty, and precision, capturing the textures of life as they are lived by ordinary person. And in this stage, what stands out is not only the external environment, but the subtle ways in which human choices, relationships, and moral tensions unfold within that environment, revealing the complexity of life beneath its surface is through this grounded and embellished attention to reality that his work builds a strong foundation, one that allows readers to not only see the world more clearly, but also begin to question it. So the second stage is what we call the spiritual axis. So many friends here. If you are new here, please subscribe our channel. Hi, 20 reshape path and Yoyong reshape path. Hello, welcome. Thank you for your kind words and please subscribe our channel if you are new here. Thank you. So I am talking about the different periods of Xuemo's writing. And the second stage is what is often called the soul trilogy. The first stage we have known that there is that's the trilogy, and the second stage there is works called the soul trilogy. His writings move from external reality to the inner world of the human soul, and these novels explore belief, fear, desire, and spiritual struggle. While they remain realistic in form, they introduce psychological and spiritual depth, what we might call spiritual realism. And it is also here, especially the wolves of Xixia, that the seeds of larger civilization of vision first appear. Sorry. So what marks this second stage is a clear turning inward, where the focus shifts from observing the external world to exploring the hidden landscape of human soul, with all its contradictions, longings, and inner conflicts. And here the writing begins to move beyond the surface reality, entering a deeper psychological and spiritual dimension, where questions of belief, fear, and desire are no longer just things, but forces that shape how we experience life itself. And it is within this inward movement that a broader vision quietly begins to emerge. One that is no longer limited to individual stories, but starts to touch upon a more universal understanding of consciousness and human existence. And the third stage is a return to homeland and memory in the Homeland trilogy. Yes, very interesting. There is a Homeland trilogy. She writes with great intimacy and quiet reflection. And this stage stands between realism and spiritual exploration, combining both. It reconnects the social world of his early writing with the inner depth of his later work. And the fourth stage, he expands beyond fiction into cultural and philosophical inquiry. Works such as The Great Perfection of Radiant Mind and Beyond Emptiness explore Eastern wisdom, inner cultivation, and the liberation of the human mind. And Xuemo then expands beyond fiction into cultural and philosophical inquiry. And also there is the Mahamudra series. That is the basic and most important based in during Xuemo's titles and Beyond Emptiness is the maybe the most important title during Xuemo's over 80 works. Beyond Emptiness. And this kind of titles begin to form a more complete system where individual books are no longer separate pieces, but part of a larger vision guiding the reader from experience to understanding and ultimately toward awakening. And the fifth stage and also the current, the final stage, it is called a civilizational writing. 索萨朗 Xuemo imagines an alternative civilization, a different worldview, and cosmic order. This vision did not appear suddenly. Its origins can be traced back to earlier works, especially the Wolves of Xishan, where changes in worldview, culture, and cosmology first emerged. So, taken together, Xuemo's work forms a complete journey from reality to soul, from culture to civilization. It is a literary path that asks not only how we live, but how we understand the world itself. So these are the 5 stages of Xuemo's writing journey. So when we look back at this journey as a whole, we begin to see that it is not just the path of a writer, but a path of awareness, one that gently invites us to reconsider not only how we live, but how we see, how we know, and how we belong in this world. Also, there is poems during Xuemo's works. Poems. Like this is one of the book, 道德经 and Laozi in poems. Have you ever heard about 道德经 or Laozi? You know the series? Xuemo interprets 道德经. What's in Laozi's mind? Xuemo interprets 道德经 has been sold over 1 million copies in China. So, hi, welcome, hello, welcome, please subscribe our channel. So beyond his novels and philosophical writings, portrait also plays an important role in his work, offering more distilled and intuitive way of expressing insight and inner experience. Through poetic language, complex ideas become softer and more direct, allowing us not only to understand, but to feel, to enter a space where wisdom is no longer explained, but quietly revealed. And when these expressions connect with classical traditions such as the Tao Te Ching, they open a timeless dialogue, inviting us to experience simplicity, stillness, and a deeper rhythm of life. And this is my I like the poetry version best. Um, yeah. So, have you ever heard about 道德经 and 老子? I think it's quite popular in West country. So the 道德经 attributed to Lao Tzu is one of the most influential texts in Chinese philosophy, offering a way of living that is rooted in simplicity, balance, and harmony with the natural flow of life. Rather than giving direct answers, it invites us to slow down, to observe, and to discover a quieter, deeper relationship with the world around us. And what makes it timeless is that its wisdom is not something we simply understand with the mind, but something we gradually feel and experience. Especially in moments of stillness, when we begin to let go of control and return to a more natural state of being. And perhaps this is why it continues to resonate today, reminding us that sometimes the path forward is not about doing more, but about becoming more aware, more present, and more connected to the quiet light within. Hi, Lillian. Hello, welcome. Please subscribe our channel. Our channel is mainly about the spiritual wisdom and human warmth found in the works by the Chinese writer, Mr. Xuemo. Okay, let me share something. Within the work 道德经 and 老子 in points, written by Xuemo. And to awaken your soul, to influence your life. This is a book that can thoroughly improve your quality of life. So in this work, Xuemo brings the wisdom of the Tao Te Ching into a more accessible and experiential form, allowing us to approach these ancient teachings not as distant philosophy, but as something that can be lived and felt in our daily lives, rather than simply explaining ideas. The book invites us to reflect, to slow down, and to gradually awaken a deeper awareness within ourselves. What makes this book truly meaningful is that its impact is not immediate or dramatic, but subtle and lasting. It gently shifts the way we see, the way we think, and ultimately the way we live, bringing a sense of clarity, balance, and inner steadiness over time. And perhaps that is where its true power lies, not in giving us something new, but in helping us return to something we have always had, a quiet clarity within that once recognized can begin to transform the quality of our entire life. Let's see the translator's introduction, the translator's instruction. And the translation says, when I first met Xuemo, I was about 13 years old. I felt strongly influenced by his temperament, and I clearly remember his calm, deep, assertive eyes. It's like he looks like a peaceful sea without wind to disturb its surface. I was not affected by the noise at all, feeling as if Xuemo's calm temperament had been naturally transmitted to me in undetectable ways, and my body and mind were surrounded with calmness. So it is the quote from the translator's introduction. And he said, then I started to take his literary and philosophical classes. Like me, I I started to take Xuemo's literary and philosophical classes from 2019. So we can all feel a vast calmness when you stand in beside Xuemo, and this is something very subtle in this kind of influence. It does not come from words or actions alone, but from the quality of being itself. And calmness, clarity, and presence become something that can be felt almost like a quiet transformation. And perhaps this is also what draws readers to his work, not only the ideas or stories, but the atmosphere behind them, a sense of stillness that gently invites us to slow down and return to a more grounded and peaceful state within ourselves. And this is also what I feel when I come close to Mr. Xuemo. Every time I am attending his philosophical classes in the past years, when I prepared so many questions about life, about relationship, about um, the confusions and anxiety. All these questions I prepared when I come to um, beside him, then there's no question. I cannot think of any questions, and like just being is enough. Just standing there, being beside him, that is enough. And yes. And very interesting is that after so many times when I come to stand beside him, and there's nothing I can say, I prepared a paperwork, and I prepared a paperwork, and I say, okay, since I can't think of any questions beside you, I want to read my questions. I want to read what I want to tell you. Then I started reading, then the words just disappear. I cannot even finish reading my prepared paperwork. So what I am describing something that goes beyond the words, a presence so complete that it dissolves the need of questions, where the mind naturally becomes quiet and what remains is simply a sense of being. And in such a space, answers are no longer something we seek externally, but something that begins to unfold silently from within. So there is a kind of understanding that does not come from explanation, but from proximity, from being in the presence of clarity, where confusion softens and the heart gradually returns to a more grounded and peaceful state. And perhaps this is also what true guidance looks like, not giving more answers, but creating a space where we no longer need so many questions, because in that stillness, something deeper within us has already begun to recognize itself. That is also why Alex said there. What makes Xuemo's work so special and different from the other great writers is this stillness. His works is not um, technique or artificial writings, but they flow naturally from his enlightened awareness. So that kind of presence and stillness, calmness, and begins the wisdom. The wisdom appears, and where whatever the forms are, the novels, the essays, the poetries, or even the long epic poem, you when you reading Xuemo's works, you can feel that vast existence behind the works. Hi, hello, Farism, lockdown, ambish, Yukesh, Anita, Charu, Aliha, Mr. Aham, Charu, Locken, Mr. Aham. Hi, welcome. Thank you for your time. And if you're new here, please subscribe our channel. And if you're our new friend, old friends, please share our channel to more of your friends. Bring along your friends and abide in true mind. And let's um, read together, read Xuemo's work. So what makes Xuemo's work truly distinctive is not only what is written, but the state from which it arises. A stillness that is not passive, but deeply live, where words are no longer constructed, but revealed. In this kind of presence, writing becomes less about expression and more about a natural unfolding of awareness, where wisdom is not added, but allowed to appear. And so that is why no matter form, whether novels, essays, poetry, there is a constant sense of depth behind the surface, as if each word carries a quiet field that invites the reader not only to understand, but to enter into it. So perhaps this is what we truly encounter when we read his work. Not just stories or ideas, but a vast and subtle presence, one that reminds us that beyond language, there is something much greater quietly holding everything together. So let's continue sharing the translator of the book 道德经 and Lao Tzu in Points by Xuemo, the introduction by the translator. I hope more people worldwide will be able to understand the essence of Chinese culture that conveys messages of love and peace. Lao Tzu in Points does not concern itself with reasoning. It only elaborates poetic enlightenment from the very depth of the author's heart. When I was reading this book, my soul was soaked in poetry, and I started to feel my heart was softened and my mind more open and my wisdom deepened. I began to understand the philosophy that is written in the ancient classics and the wisdom that exists in the world. I felt my life influenced by Xuemo's book, which bears the spirit of Lao Tzu. And now we are living at an age filled with information and temptation, which are adapt to leave people perplexed. Yes, and there are pandemics and wars, and we are very lucky that we can live a country in peace. In China, and yes, thanks to the government. So from this paragraph from the translator in the book 道德经 and Lao Tzu in Points, what we hear is not simply an introduction to a book, but a testimony of transformation. But how poetry, when it comes from a place of death, when it comes from a place can gently dissolve the hardness of the mind and open a more spacious way of perceiving life. It is not about understanding through logic, but about allowing something subtle to resonate within us until we begin to see the world and ourselves a quieter and more connected way. There is a kind of wisdom that cannot be taught directly, but can only be felt, and poetry becomes one of the most natural bridges for that experience, where meaning is not explained, but lived, and where the heart begins to soften into a deeper awareness. And perhaps this is the deeper gift of such works. Not that they give us something new, but that they help us rediscover something ancient and already present within us. A quiet clarity that, once touched, begins to transform the way we live, feel, and understand the world. Okay, in the last chapter of this book, 道德经 and Lao Tzu in Points, Xuemo wrote, "When there are desires in my heart, I will press them down with a stone. The stone is not decorated with sculptures, nor has a name. It is an enlightened heart of sincerity, just like the smile of an infant. When I see it, my world is cleared and illuminated. Great beauty in clarity and light is my territory. I hope everyone can have the pure smile of infant. I hope the world is in peace." Hi, Nami. Welcome to our channel. Please subscribe if you're new here. We are introducing Xuemo's works to the world, and his works often can illuminate people's inner mind. So what we can feel from the Xuemo's poem here is a return to something profoundly simple, a state where the heart is no longer burdened by excess, but rests in clarity, sincerity, and a quiet openness. It reminds us that true strength does not come from accumulation, but from letting go, until what remains is something pure, light, and unshaken. There is also a quiet innocence in these words, not as something naive, but as a clarity that has moved beyond complexity, like return to a beginning, where the world can be seen without distortion, and where peace is no longer something we seek, but something we embody. And perhaps this is the most gentle wish behind these words, that each of us, in our own way, can rediscover this clarity, this softness, and this light within, and allow it to quietly extend beyond ourselves into the world. So, if you can also explore more of Xuemo's works through Xuemo's online shop, shop.xuemo.com, and also Xuemo's works are available on Amazon. Allow this work to accompany you not as reading but a quiet presence in your life. So about 道德经. 道德经 was written by Lao Tzu, one of the greatest Chinese philosophers and thinkers. His masterpiece 道德经 has made a huge impact in Chinese philosophy and culture for thousands of years. Outside China, Lao Tzu is regarded as one of the most influential figures in world history. So 道德经 is not only an indispensable work in Chinese, it is also important in the global field of philosophy and politics. In Chinese, 道 as the way has the same pronunciation and written form as the word for way or road. Dao is indeed about ways of nature and the road to wisdom, but it cannot be directly translated as way or road because it contains much more than these two words. The reader is invited to try to comprehend the meaning of Dao while reading the book. As for De is virtue. It also particularly refers to the behavior and mindset of following Dao. Therefore, De cannot be directly translated as virtue. Jing is a form of Chinese ancient style of writing, which is extremely terse and concise. It was generally used for recording doctrines and ideologies. Therefore, 道德经 is very concise, which means it needs to be interpreted to help readers understand its meaning. And 道德经 tries to convey our values and its wisdom can apply according to the lives of people that are not the same. So, hi James Tommy, hello, welcome. Please subscribe our channel. Actually, Mr. Xuemo is in the USA right now. After the over 20 days of the UK travel, he is in the US, in the United States now. So I'm introducing the book 道德经 and 老子 in points by Xuemo. So speaking about 道德经, what makes the 道德经 truly unique is that it is not a text that can be fully understood through definition or translation, but one that unfolds gradually through reflection and experience. The words themselves are simple and concise, yet they point towards something vast, a way of seeing and living that cannot be fully captured by language, but can be sensed when we slow down and allow the meaning to settle within us. So rather than offering fixed concepts, it opens a space for inquiry, where each reader is invited into a personal encounter with meaning, discovering that understanding is not given but revealed through one's own awareness and presence. And perhaps this is why it has remained alive for thousands of years, not because it gives answer, but because it continues to guide us back to a deeper relationship with life, where wisdom is not something we acquire, but something we rediscover within ourselves. So, if this sharing has brought you even a small sense of connection, you are warmly welcome to stay with us to continue this journey of literature, reflection, and inner light together. And also, you can explore more of Xuemo's works at our Xuemo's Globe online shop, shop.xuemo.com. Xuemo as Xuemo, shop.xuemo.com. And perhaps allow these words to accompany you, not only as something you read, but as something you live. So please subscribe our channel and thank you for your time, companion. Um, our channel is mainly about the spiritual wisdom and human world found in the works by the Chinese writer Mr. Xuemo. So stay with us. I think I will take a picture.